And welcome all to episode number 2 of the Apostate Alliance. And I'm your host, John Peterson. Our first episode was way back in the beginning of December, and then I fucked off for quite a while there, and now we're back. And we will be back on a Raging Atheist channel, which I believe now is known as The Rage. Let me turn my...
I'm gonna change the name soon. I'm dipping out. I just wanted to say what's up to my girl Fay, and very nice to meet you, Saff. I'm glad to have you on my channel.
Well, and Nakasuchi, are you going to be watching?
Oh yeah, I'll be in the chat and having fun.
Well, I will give you a word when we're getting towards the end there, and boy, I'd appreciate it if you could come back and play that intro as an outro to the video.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Then hopefully by the next time we have an episode, I will have educated myself into knowing how to do it myself.
Yeah, like I said, I can always send you my file because it works on my computer, so I'm sure it'll work on yours. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Super excited to have you guys on my channel, and I'm glad that I got to come in and say hello. So hello and goodbye.
Hey, thanks, Doc.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for covering for my ineptitude. So again, this is the Apostate Alliance podcast, and on the Apostate Alliance podcast, you can be free to not believe. Our focus is our main focus is talking to ex-Muslims and talking about their journey out of Islam and issues related to that. But we will talk to apostates of other religions. And as a matter of fact, 2 weeks from today, we will have another friend of Fay's on, ex-cult baby. And she is, I believe you told me, an ex-Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, she's ex-Jehovah's Witness. She's lovely, by the way. You'll love her.
Oh, she seems to be. I watched some of your video with her. So we'll talk to an ex Jehovah's Witness. That'll be interesting. And then the following episode, we'll go back to getting some more ex-Muslims in here. One thing I want to let everybody know, if you know an ex-Muslim or you are an ex-Muslim, please reach out if you want to be a guest. And you don't have to be on camera. We can point you towards apps that will modulate your voice so nobody will recognize your voice, and you can tell your story of your time in Islam and how you made your way out of Islam and what your life is like today, and in total anonymity. As well, to anybody listening, if you have a news story that relates to apostasy and the persecution of apostates of any religion, please send that to us. I will make my email available in the video description, and if Faye wants her email to be known, I will put hers in there as well. And then sometime soon, over the next week, I would say before our next episode, 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be establishing an Apostate Alliance Facebook page. So once that's up and running, I'll get the word out about that, and you can DM us on Facebook, if you have any news stories or you or someone would like to come on as a guest. And just real quick, I want to say hello to some people in the live chat here that have been nice enough to join us. Of course, Nakasuchi was just here. He's in there. Geo Sam's joining us today. Tartan Snowflake is here. Junk Shop Library, somebody I just met yesterday, a friend of Fay's. And I had seen a tweet, and he has the coolest avatar on Twitter. it's kind of steampunk looky, if you know what steampunk is, and it kind of looks like a board too. So I had never seen him before, but I saw Fay had replied to him or something, and
gotta get John Shop on here then. He's quite cool.
Yeah. And so I tweeted him and said, "Are you a punk house Borg?" And and then we ended up following each other. Thanks to him for coming by today. Free spirits here, Ishtak Hussein. I hope I said that right. And Mistress Angelica. And I think I got everybody. If I missed any of you, please don't hold it against me. Oh, Malik Lendl is here. That's somebody else who followed me a while back on Twitter, and I went through and tagged a bunch of people I'd never reached out to, and he was one of them. And here he is.
We need to get Malik on as well.
Yeah. I mean, there is just an endless list of people that we need to get on, and many of them your friends.
He knows everyone, man.
I literally went. John and Saff, I literally went from having absolutely no friends to suddenly having 1 million, and I don't know how I handled it.
And 1 million haters, it seems too.
Well, I mean, that was always going to happen, but
yeah,
the friends thing was more of a surprise. It's very taken aback by that. But on the topic of ex-Muslim news or ex-Muslim stories, there will be an isolation action on Tuesday. I think we are going to be streaming to Free Sohail Arabi. I think I've spoken about Sohail Arabi before. He's a prisoner. He's a prisoner of conscience, essentially. He's been imprisoned because he is an ex-Muslim. He wrote some criticism about Muhammad on Facebook, and he's been in prison for over 7 years. So we will be doing an action on Tuesday. I'm not entirely sure whose channel it's going to be on. It's going to be a live stream. I will be there, and a few other people will be there. So go and follow me on Twitter to have updates about that. Waleed or Vidu Vids is going to be hosting, but there's going to be quite a few of us like going in and out of the live stream. So if you want to join us for that, and we do encourage that you do, because it's something that is absolutely appalling that someone is still in prison for a Facebook post. So if you wanted to join us for that, please do go and follow me so you can hear about all the updates, because we're still organizing. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in really quickly.
Yeah, no, that's good. And make sure that you DM me all the particulars on that, and I'll make sure that goes in the video description as well.
Okay, great.
And I, first time back in a few months, I'm kind of resting on my laurels and not doing much. But I do have one news item I'd like to share before we get on to the interview. There was a group of, and this is from News 24, which I have no idea if that's like a local channel over there or if that's just the name of this website. But a group of Muslim theologians representing more than 20 South African mosques and their worshipers will be approaching the courts to challenge the national lockdown regulations prohibiting large groups from attending daily prayers. Now, this issue is a big issue here in the United States as well. You know, there are a lot of, there's many religious leaders and churches that are telling people, hey, no, stay home. You know, we can do this online or we can do it over the phone. One preacher in particular I saw tweeted on Twitter that, hey, the church is not the building, it's the people. And the people are still there, but for now we got to stay out of the building, you know, for people to be safe. But there's also an equal number, it seems, of religious folks in this country and in Muslim countries that have this idea in their head that God will protect them from this virus that he created. So I can't follow that logic, but
there've been I mean, I'm not too up to date on the church side of things, though. I have heard that it's not wonderful, especially in the States.
I know here it's all right because my friend who is Christian, she sent me like a Snapchat today saying they did like Easter live streams and they've been live streaming church in the UK, so I think they've like. And
to be fair, they have been doing so. Like, there's been a lot of Jummah or like Friday prayer lectures, which happens every week anyway at a mosque. They've been live streaming them, which is a good thing. But we also have heard of people like having 30,000 gatherings of prayers in other countries, and it's just. I mean, I'm particularly upset about that one because it happened in Bangladesh, and I was like, "You guys are better than this." But it's.
I don't know if you've heard in Pakistan where the female police officer was stopping people going into the mosque for Friday prayer and she got attacked by a group of men for.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Awful, 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 awful. And there was one preacher, I reacted to a couple of videos of Muslim preachers talking about the coronavirus, because there were quite a few ones that I saw coming from like churches and preachers and stuff like that, trying to heal people through the TV. But I came across a lot of Muslim preachers that were saying things like, if you die of the virus, you die a martyr, and things like that. And it's just not the time for this.
No.
Yeah, just real quick. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Faye.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, stay at home, wash your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. See, and here's going along what you were just talking about. Someone says that there was a Russian doctor in Moscow who said it was okay to go to church. You can't get the coronavirus there because it's holy ground. Makes no sense to me. Hello to Maynard Saves. Hello to Arthur. Boy, I don't want to try and say that last name. I might butcher it badly. No offense. Hey, to everybody that's here right now, please, do me and Saff and Fay a favor. Open up another window and share this somewhere on social media. Let's get some more people here. This is only the second episode, and the episodes were a few months apart, so we got a bit of a light audience. As we go into this further and get the Facebook page up and other, avenues to advertise, hopefully our audience will grow.
If nothing else, they will be sitting here watching two girls talk to a horse. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
And a lot of people got to do it's quarantine.
Yeah. And again, the mission statement of this podcast is to bring ex-Muslims into the fold. And the funny thing about that is that most of the ex-Muslims I've talked to, they already feel as if they're part of the atheist and skeptic communities. I had an ex-Muslim a while back welcome me to the atheist and skeptic community. And that's when it dawned on me. It's like, well, we're trying to bring these people into the community, and here they feel as if they are part of the community, but you don't see them out there very often. And I think as far as like YouTube and that, but I understand that a lot of them can't be out about me being an ex-Muslim. Mm-hmm. But just let me say again, if you want to come on and tell your story or discuss some issues, you don't have to be on camera. You can do like I'm doing and put up your favorite avatar, and you can have your voice modulated so that nobody will even recognize your voice. So we are going to get to the interview portion. Today's all about Saff, a friend that wouldn't even be my friend if I hadn't gotten to know Fay. And because, just like the first episode when we had Ali Malik, because Saff and Fay are so close, I'm going to turn this portion of the show over to Fay as my co-host and let her interview her good friend Saff. I might, pop in with a question or two or a comment here and there. But as far as it goes, the interview, I am going to give to Fay, and take it away, Fay.
Saff's in trouble now. No, I'm joking, because I wouldn't call it a prank, but the last video we did do together was a jump on you.
Yeah, you did. I was expecting a fun little, we were going to
read her tarot cards, and it's going to be fun.
And just real quick before I do go away, if you could just after you're done with chatting right now, when you go to interview her, if you could just have her talk about her time in Islam, get to how she came out of Islam, and then have her talk about what her life's been like now since she got out of Islam. So
sure,
take it away.
Okay, so Saff, first and foremost, I think it's really, really important that we ask you and any other person that we bring onto the channel how you're doing in isolation, because I feel like there are a lot of people around the world who are closeted and closeted ex-Muslim, closeted gay, closeted liberal. I don't know. They're closeted and they can't be them true selves around their families. And I just want to ask how you're doing. I mean, I know you live in a university campus, so it's not too hard, but it's worth bringing you up. So take it away.
So I live with my best friend from undergrad. So it's been pretty okay. It was just, I'd say last week, it got pretty hard. Because I'd gone from being busy 6 days a week to essentially being stuck at home. I found like quite hard. I'd say I was quite depressed. I just sat in my room pretty much all day, or doing nothing. It was until I sort of forced myself to go outside, and I'd go on like a walk every day for about like half an hour, and that helped a lot. And then making sure I like got up at a reasonable time instead of like staying in bed till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm trying to change up my routine daily rather than doing the same thing over and over again. But and then speaking to making sure I keep in contact with my friends, my family, that's been pretty good. I could have gone home for isolation, but I chose not to because, one, I find it easier to do uni work here, and with Ramadan coming up soon, I think that would have been just too hard to be at home.
That was actually something I wanted to address as well. Well, first of all, what do you think you'd advise people to do if they are stuck at home with their families and they're not out? We have very recently created a group of people that we really enjoy talking to, and I think we're the only ones aside from Simon, who's just completely irrelevant. Everyone else in that group is closeted. So, I mean, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of how they should find ways of coping?
Talk to us. Like, if you've join the ex-Muslim community, find someone, message me or Faye or anyone that seems fairly recognizable, and just get talking. I feel like nowadays we've really got to make use of social media, the internet that we have access to, and just make a throwaway account, put like a random avatar, so there's some flowers or a horse, as John has, anything. And the ex-Muslim community is really welcoming. So there will be someone there'll be someone out there to talk to you. Try like any sort of little activities that you do enjoy doing that you can do. So it depends how strict your household is. So if you are allowed to read, if you are allowed to draw, whatever you can do, that if that's safe enough for you to do, because I don't know, some families are really,
there are some crazy people out there. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like social media is pretty accessible. I don't want to say that everybody can use it, but it is pretty accessible. So if you can join like a couple of groups, if you can, make a Twitter account, come join the community, come hang out with us. I mean, I held a Cards Against Humanity game a couple of days back, and I recorded some of it, but most of it we just had fun. We were playing for, I don't even know how long we were playing for. We were playing for like 5 hours.
You could just join a Facebook group about, like, I don't know, if you like cats. Doing that in like whatever sort of hobby you have, join those sort of groups. Then interaction with people with similar interests as you.
Take this time to invest in your hobbies. That's what I've been saying. But anyway, to get on to the topic of the show, tell us about how you grew up and how you left Islam, and what, like, it's probably a long story, so I'll let you speak for a while.
So I pretty much grew up in like what is termed as a liberal Muslim household. So I didn't really interact with Islam probably until, I want to say, I was about 7 or 8 years old when I started to learn like the Arabic alphabet, and then it was more until we moved to Manchester, because we then had like more of a Muslim community. There were more mosques around. I grew up in Northampton. There was pretty much nothing there for us. Like, even for my parents to find a halal meat shop, they'd have to drive a good hour or so away, or 40 minutes. Like, it was a long distance. It wasn't a Muslim area I originally was born in. Then when I started primary school, my friends I made there, she went to the local mosque, so I went to that, and it was like 5 days a week for 2 hours in the evening, so 5 to 7. And even in like the Easter and Christmas holidays, we'd have like morning classes instead. And that's where I learned how to read the Quran. We learned the Seerah, we learned fiqh. that's basically, it was my madrasa. That's all we did. It was pretty relaxed, I'd say. So I had like male teachers to begin with. Then they managed to get more and more male teachers in as sort of the grew in size. Originally, it was like in the people who owned it, their house, and then they moved out of that and they converted the rooms so they had more space. I mean, we had Eid parties where we'd have like.
Were your Eid parties lit? Like, did everybody bring their food?
They were lit. So you bring in like £5 each, and they'd buy like a massive takeaway. So it'd just be an evening where you just eat loads takeaway and just chat for like 2 hours, and that was.
Did you ever go to a duxi?
No, but I've heard about them.
Duxis are lit. Like, yeah, they're mosques, and they're a little crazy sometimes, but around Ramadan and Eid, it's so lit because they would like dump food into this massive tray and everybody would be eating from it. It's mental.
And yeah, we play like paper ball fights, whatever, like tennis with it. And even once like our one of our mosque teachers joined in with us, but like then the punishments there weren't really that strict. We just if you'd been talking too much, you'd have to stand up for like however long you would. Like the teacher was like, oh, you can sit back down again whenever she remembered, to be honest. Some people got sent out sometimes. I had to stand up a lot.
I didn't. I was a goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you also, so you grew up in quite a liberal Muslim family. Do you want to briefly talk about how you left? Because I think that a lot of people think that it's always this big drama, right? Like with me, it definitely was. It definitely was a massive drama, and it was not fun. But with you, I think that
I'd say it's like a medium drama with some peaks.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a, which is hopeful. It's like, I kind of like your story because it's hopeful. I mean, still not perfect, but we're getting somewhere. So why don't you go ahead and get going, start telling us your story. I'm a terrible host.
So I actually talked about this fully in detail when we did the ex-Muslims event. That was like the first time I candidly told everyone what happened. It takes me a long while to actually talk about it. So it happened in my second year of uni. My parents found out basically about my double life, essentially. And it led to like a whole sort of like confrontation where I blurted out, I'm not religious, I don't believe in God. And even that shocked me because like I knew, like I had no feeling towards God, I had no real feeling towards religion. I hadn't like prayed in a long time. But to actually physically say the words to my parents and out loud was difficult. And there was like a period of time where I didn't go home.
Was it scary? Like before you said that, did you think that there would have been a consequence for you like blurting that out?
I just thought there would have been a consequence regardless of the double life. I talked to my non-Muslim friends about this at uni. And one of them said, why don't you just tell your parents? I'm like, you can't, like in our community, you can't just tell your parents without having some sort of safety net. Because I know my parents, they're pretty relaxed and they dealt with it very well. But again, you see how other people are treated, and you're like, that is a possibility.
It's scary for sure. It's really scary for sure.
I was only 19. I was a baby then. I was not ready for all of that sort of backlash.
You still are a baby.
But my sister was like a big support for me. My dad handled it pretty well. My mum, it took a bit more time because she is that little bit more religious, and obviously the mother's the one who's raised the child, so she saw such a big change. But I was like, I'm pretty much fundamentally the same person. I just don't believe in God, and I want to live my life in a slightly different way.
Yeah. And
it took a few months, and then I went home. And again, those few months while I still lived at home were very difficult because I was still there's re-establishing the relationship, re-establishing the boundaries. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression at that time. But now, what is it? Almost 2 years later, and we're on great terms now. Like, they know how I live my life. They know I lived independently. They know I do this. They, like, my dad knew I was going out to the ex-Muslims thing. So, it's pretty much all out in the open, I think. And even my extended family know, my grandparents.
I feel like your extended families haven't quite got the message, but they
Yeah,
they
some
know.
people haven't, but like at the end of the day, like I told my parents about like this message I'd received, and
Yeah.
they just laughed it off. And I was like, well,
Yeah,
there we go.
fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
but like my Pakistani grandparents from Pakistan, they were
Mhm.
just like, they just wanted me to feel like I could still be there, and that's how it is. Like, I haven't really changed. There's the odd few members of my family that still, you know, ask questions, still persist, but more over
I
whole,
mean, even in a best case scenario, I would expect that to happen,
Yeah.
because it is a change ultimately, and there's only so much you can expect people to do, you know. But
Yeah.
I mean, I genuinely do find your story quite hopeful, in the sense that, you know, there was no violence, there was no threats, and things like that. So I do think that it's worth showing both the sides.
Yeah,
I did want to ask you, so tell us a little bit more about this double life that you were leading. What did your double life involve?
So I was wearing what I wanted to wear, so traditionally not very Islamic, wearing modest clothing, even though it wasn't that modest, because I have like body confidence issues, which are like rooted in like Pakistani culture, like that. Like I still, like, I will not feel comfortable showing my legs off. I'm not comfortable. That's like, I pretty much dress the same as I did like when I was Muslim, apart from like I'll wear like a short sleeve top, I'll wear a sleeveless top, maybe like a scoop neck, but that's about it. Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty halal in the way I dress, by, say, some people say ex-Muslim standards or whatever. Yeah, basically lived the typical uni student life, and it was, but again, that was like first, second year. I still studied, I still got my degree, but just enjoying my life as a young person, and now hit 22, and I just don't want to go out anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who like come from religious backgrounds and then they leave, they have this like massive gap to fill in what they haven't experienced, which I feel like you've seen in person with me. There's definitely a massive gap.
It was like we watched Pitch Perfect and you'd never seen it before.
I'd never seen it before. It was just like enthralled, and you were looking at me like, "Have you never seen Pitch Perfect before?" And I was like, "No, this is mad. Like, what is this? What is this film?" But I do feel as though you had quite a liberal upbringing, so you did get to do like
movies.
a lot of normal stuff.
I went to concerts. And that's a big thing. Like when I first asked my parents to go to one, they were like, "You know, if your granddad knew this," and I was. Then now my sister goes to them more than I am. I've been to less concerts than she has, and she's younger than me.
I don't know if I told you this, but I didn't even go to a cinema until like 2017.
Oh my god! I need my mom to like take you to the cinema. She loves it.
I didn't. The first, you know what's the saddest thing about that? The first movie I watched was Despicable Me 3 in the cinema. It was bad. I also didn't go to a restaurant till like 2016. We'd only cut open our own chickens and cooked at home. But what I also wanted to ask you is, like, coming from such a liberal family, and you know, leaving without too much of a struggle, what drew you into the movement? Like, what made you want to do the activism stuff? What drew, because it's not an easy life, you know, putting yourself out there and saying, you know, controversial things about a religion that feels like it deserves to be protected. It's not an easy life. So what drew you? I mean, I know, but tell them what drew you to it, and why do you do it?
So initially it was because of the way my parents reacted, even though they were pretty liberal. I was like, well, these sort of, it's a scared mindset. Like, I think my parents are more fearful. I remember my mom saying she was worried what other people would think, the community. And, you know, there's people like the Dower men. I'm not going to say who, because I don't
name him. Name him and shame him. We're here for the tea, sis.
My mom even named him. She was like, I'm worried about people like Ali Dower coming for you. And I'm like, Mom, don't worry. He has 0 brain cells. We can deal with him.
That man's a snowflake. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so she was like, people like that. And I was like, well, you shouldn't be worried about that. And I don't know how, like, because I have like a younger sister, I just thought, you know, at least for like people her age who, like, she's quite a spiritual person. I wouldn't say she was religious. She was talking about like the law of vibrations and all this spiritual stuff that goes over my head. But just have opportunities like that, and then mostly it was my baby Sinin Kafu. It was him. So he set up this ex-Muslim group chat, and then one day he was like, "Should we start a podcast?" I was like, "Hey, yeah, I'm down for that." Interacting with him and a lot of other young ex-Muslims, he was from Pakistan. There's people from the UAE, all sort of those countries, and realizing they can't really speak for themselves. Yeah, I'm here as like a 20-year-old living in the UK, pretty free to say and do what I want. And then his sort of story where, you know, he got found out and the reaction that happened in sort of Pakistan towards him.
It was really scary because I was around for all of that. It was really, really scary when he got found out. I think the first sort of sign of that happening was that everything just went dark. Like all the YouTube videos disappeared, his Twitter account disappeared.
So we just finished recording an interview with Jimmy, and it was one of the best ones we had done. It was so warm. So
you want to briefly tell the audience who Jimmy is?
Jimmy is a gem, a gay ex-Muslim, and like my favorite person ever. I've only met him like once, but he's just the nicest person. Like there's no, you cannot get any bad vibes from this man. He's got a clean aura. So we were interviewing him as part of like an LGBT themed episode. Then at the end of it, it kind of got quite rushed and something seemed off. And then like, it must have been like half an hour later, he rang me back saying his parents had found out, and it's completely by accident. They just, so if you search Pakistan in the YouTube links, it came up with his interview with Secular Jihadists, and then that linked to our podcast, and then obviously the parents recognized the voice, and then also kicked off from there. And I remember him telling me one of his cousins that worked in media in Pakistan had said the video had gone through anti-apostate groups in that country. So that's pretty terrifying. Then I've had friends I know personally on Twitter who've had to deactivate their accounts and make like fake accounts so they can actually still interact with us because like a family member found something that looked a little bit suspect, a little bit ex-Muslim, and again, a lot of them from Pakistan. I have friends who are LGBT Muslims who struggle a lot with their sort of putting faith together. I know one of them, she messaged a group chat a few days ago just saying she's going to leave Islam because she couldn't deal with the hatred that came with against LGBT members. So it's for people like that, just giving people like a space to talk. That's why I do the Sinning Skeptics, which I want to do another episode this month now. That, and I do I study journalism, and the stories of ex-Muslims are rarely heard of. That's where I'm kind of focusing on.
I don't know how many times you've been reached out to, but several journalists have reached out to me, and there's very few times where that sort of comes to fruition, where they'll take my story and I'll be on the phone for an hour. There was one time that a journalist was quite desperate to get my story. I was like outside a station. I was like, yeah, I can talk to you for 30 minutes. I was just walking around Earl's Court, just talking to this person about all these different things that happened in my life. It was very awkward for me. And I rarely hear back from them. And it's really disappointing because it's clear that the journalist definitely wants to report on it, but
it will be their boss. They won't want to put it out because it'll be deemed too controversial. They have there's a lot of restrictions with traditional press, which is why like I do work with the Index on Censorship, who cover sort of censorship issues in these sort of countries. They focused a little bit sort of blasphemy and sort of stuff like that, but that was a couple of years back. That's why I applied for a role with them, so I could be like, but you guys need to talk about this more. It's your area. This is what you're doing. We need to focus on that more and be able to share my opinions with them.
I also think that's why we need to utilize untraditional media, so like YouTube, Twitter, like all of these sort of modes to be able to talk about this. Yeah, because it's literally the only way that people are going to hear us. Like, if something, like, for example, the case of Sahel Arabi, if someone got imprisoned here for a Facebook post, well, actually, he was sentenced to death. He's been on and off death row. If someone was sentenced to death here for a Facebook post, I don't think we'd hear the end of it. But because it's happening in Iran and no one's spoken about it, it's just being swept under the rug, and it's just so scary. It's such a scary world outside of us. Sorry.
Well, it's like you have World Hijab Day, and that's celebrated so much here, but nobody then, the whole eyes brushed over what's going on in Iran and their women's rights movement, which has been going on for decades, really, and no one's focused on that. But you will celebrate the hijab. Fair enough, celebrate if you want to, right? That's your right to do so. But as people celebrating that garment, you also have the responsibility to shed light on women who don't have the choice to wear it, the women who are forced to wear it by law, and how they're forced to wear it. Because the way women wear hijab in the West is not how they would be allowed to wear the hijab in those countries. It's not the same thing.
It's just, I think that this narrative that, because we also had a very recent movement started by X_Africa on Twitter, or the Muslim Atheists of South Africa, where they've started a hashtag which is "It is not a choice." Feel free to, post your thoughts under that hashtag. You do not have to be from a Muslim background or an ex-Muslim to comment on this issue. We need to destigmatize the idea that talking about Islam is somehow like wrong or racist. If you have a thought about the hijab and you think that it's not a choice, or even if you do think it is a choice, right under this hashtag, we want to hear what your thoughts are. We need for this to be destigmatized to the point that people can say what they mean. But also they started a hashtag where we were talking about how the narrative that hijab is a choice is such a widespread narrative, whereas I feel as though the majority of people or women rather, who wear the hijab are not wearing it out of choice. They're either wearing it because they've been told to, or they've just been indoctrinated that way.
And it's a very Western hijabi viewpoint, because I collected experiences from women on the hijab, and I collected women's experience from those living in Muslim countries. And they still, despite saying they thought they had a choice in the first place, that the hijab isn't really a choice for them, because when they want to take it off, they're pressured by family members. I remember someone telling me her grandmother would disown her if she took it off. So it's not a choice. You may have it in a Western country society because your parents are probably a little bit more relaxed, but those living in Islamic countries, they don't have, even somewhere where like Pakistan, where the hijab isn't enforced by law, it's culturally enforced.
It's very much enforced by the society, but I don't want to get into a massive like discussion about hijab, because I feel like that horse has definitely been beaten today. But I do want to ask you, what are some of the few things that you enjoy now after leaving Islam, like you are guilt-free for doing? Because I do think as though there's this narrative with ex-Muslims that we leave Islam for X, Y, and Z reason, like we leave it to fuck the whole nation or whatever, right?
Honestly,
like stupid things like that. But I also don't think that that is an invalid reason to leave a religion that wants to control almost every aspect of your life. So what would you say you enjoy the most now, having left?
Well, like leaving religion for me, I really wanted to be able to like live on my own and live independently, which culturally is not like Pakistani girls. They don't do that. Like I'm the first in my family to move away for university. I'm the first to move out on my own. I'm first to have a job and sort of pretty much be self-sufficient. I do. So that was like a big thing for me. I joke about this with my friends. They say I'm like the halalest ex-Muslim they know.
The halalest ex-Muslim. Why is that?
So like I barely date, although like the
That's true. We need to bring the dating game up.
And although I'm trying, it's quarantine. It's not easy.
It is. You know what? It's a tough life out here for us single people. But yeah,
going to a shop, choosing some clothes, not having to think, oh, I can't wear this, I can't wear that. The only reason I'd ever think about that is if I had like personal body issues or like, it looks fucking horrific. But most of the time I'm just like, I can go and do that. I can go out whatever time I please or whatever. It's like simple things like that. It's not like,
you need to go shopping with your girlfriends. Someone needs to gas you up while you're choosing clothes, because that's sad.
Honestly, it's just getting comfortable with my body is difficult. It has been for a while, but
When you come back down in September, we're going shopping together.
yes,
Come
please.
camp out at Jimmy's house for like a week.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I do think that you like reminded me of something. I think me like trying to figure out what looks good on my body was really difficult for me after I stopped wearing a hijab, because I didn't just wear like a tea towel on my head. I wore like a full, tent. So after I got out of that, it was really difficult for me to like understand what like fashion was and how like clothes work, because I used to wear like these dresses with jeans and it didn't make any sense. I went through a phase where I was wearing like flannels, dress jeans every day.
Hey, just real quick, as an aside, sorry to interrupt your beautiful discussion there, but I just wanted, as an aside, if anybody wondered out there in the audience what the Dunning-Kruger effect looks like, this is it. From Matt Powell at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, ladies.
All right, Matt Powell. Okay, boomer. See you later.
What do you mean? What do you mean we failed?
What did we fail at? Please enlighten us.
Like
on this blessed day, on Easter Sunday, please do enlighten us.
Yeah, I don't understand what I failed at. Please do ask more specific questions and make statements like that.
I mean, I probably think Jesus is more on my side at this point than yours. But go on. So we were talking about like fashion and how we me specifically, I just didn't know how any of it worked really. And I was lucky to have friends who could like walk me through it and not be too weird about it. Like, how do you not know that this doesn't go with this? Sort of thing. Like, they weren't critical, they would just let me do whatever. And there are some very humiliating pictures in the archives of me just wearing things that do not go together. But yeah, how we'll not here, but another time. But how did you find the same thing after? I mean, I don't know what your experience was with specifically with hijab. So
that was pretty short-lived. But after I came out to my parents, there was a lot of it was especially when it's how I dressed. So there was that whole summer I was pretty much lived in pajamas or like big jumpers and t-shirts. Like, I hated the idea of getting dressed to go outside. I couldn't, and
you just hate what you're wearing, innit?
Yeah, so it was when I pretty much made it at peace with what my body looked like at the age of 18. When I went to uni, I was like, it's fine, this is what I look like, move on.
Yeah.
And then after that, and then as a woman, I am not like, I have bigger thighs, I have a bigger chest, like things don't fit well, and then it's like,
it's 2020.
You need to like cover all of this, you need to wear something like almost up to your knee, and I was just like, this is not what I wear. I just want to wear, sometimes I just want to be able to wear basic jeans and t-shirt, but sometimes even that wasn't okay. And then just because of the way my body looks, and then I'd see my sister who's a lot taller, who's like slimmer than me, and like we had different body types, but she could wear things I couldn't wear, and I was just like, well, what am I supposed to wear?
And also I think something that I think is not talked about enough is that Indian clothes are made for skinny people. They're not made.
They are not made for anyone who has a chest or a bum. I'm sorry, but like, I used to hate going Asian clothes shopping. Like, I think it was my cousin's wedding, and we had to go clothes shopping, and I started crying in the dressing room because I was just like, none of these clothes look good on me, none of them fit right. And the ones that did look like what like my aunties would be wearing. I was like, I can't wear that. So
my whole thing was that my mom would always see me in Indian clothes, and she was like, "Yeah, you're just gonna have to wear a massive hijab. You can't wear, you can't go out looking like that." So, Mom.
Yeah, but I had the same discussion like a day or two ago with one of my friends who's Pashtun, and she was just like, I hate traditional clothing because it doesn't fit me well enough because she is a curvier woman, and they're just not made for us really.
Yeah,
so,
I do also think that because I was put in a hijab, like I really didn't.
You didn't know.
Like it's not just that I didn't know. There was a side to it where I didn't care, but it wasn't like the good kind of, oh, I don't care what I look like. It was more like, I don't care what I look like.
Yeah.
Like I'm just a hideous person and that's what I am, sort of thing. And it really does take that away, because you're constantly told like, oh, what your body looks like doesn't matter, you're meant to focus on your like your iman and your spirituality and all of that stuff. But like I used to go to an Islamic school, so we used to wear like burqa and all of that stuff all of the time. And every time we went, some of my classmates would just turn up with like pajamas underneath. They were like, yeah, there's no point in changing. And
To
I
be
was
fair,
like,
I used to do that sometimes when I'd go to Moscow, I'd wear my pajama pants underneath, because by the time you got home, it was like 7 o'clock, so you'd want to.
yeah, it's like there's no point in like that level of self-care or like taking care of yourself. Like I never used to shave my legs. I never used to like put on any. Well, I did, and it was a tragedy that
Watch
I
that
used to
video.
put on any makeup.
I
There's a
tried.
video on my channel about that. But it really does stifle like any sense of like, oh, I want to be creative with my look. I want to dress like this way. It really stifles that because of how many limitations there are in it.
You're kind of restricted by like. There's also many colorful sort of hijabs or like jabas you can wear. At least,
Yeah.
you know, if you're like a hijabi who then wears like modest clothing, you have that outlet to experience with and experiment with. You didn't have that.
No, well, so the mosque that I used to go to, I don't know if it's the same for you, but people used to like judge each other, where they'd be like, oh, that girl's wearing this, oh, part of her fringe is showing, oh, her hijab has like a little frill on it. Like women are constantly policing how, like, for example, there's like a big meme in the Asian community that you have that like one Snoopy auntie that tells
Yes.
everyone what you're doing,
Yes.
and she catches you. Like that was my immediate fear, because where I used to live with my uncle, my aunt used to live like across the street, and she used to make a scene every time she saw me. Every time in the middle of the street, middle of like Preston Road, she would just start yelling, "Oh, this is my niece! Look at her!" Like it was Pakistan or something. Like it's something that is really, really toxic, that women, and I don't exactly know what it stems from, but I think it's because like, oh, I have to suffer, so you have to suffer as well,
A
sort
lot
of
of
mentality.
on the women's side,
Mm.
it's because again, they don't. If it's usually women who aren't allowed to be as free as they can do.
Yeah.
So like they're saying, oh, she's doing what she wants, and no one else is saying anything. And I think as well, it falls then onto like, I think that's why my parents were a little bit worried, because it'll be like, oh, you're policing your daughter wrong. I know.
All your aunties are gonna be talking to your parents.
But like,
Your daughter's got pink hair now. Like,
it's fine if, you know, people talk about me behind my back. I don't care. It's not going to bother me.
yeah, but it was so one of the things I did experience though, and you might be able to relate to this, was when I finally decided to, like, I've had enough, I'm leaving everything. A lot of blame was put onto not my uncle who I was living with, but his wife. So she's not actually blood related to me, it's my uncle's wife. A lot of blame was put onto her because she wasn't hard enough, or she gave me too much freedom. Can you relate to that experience? Because I was very angry about it when I heard about this. I started picking so many fights with my aunts.
Well, I heard who had exactly said it, but so I am sure I've told you.
Yeah.
But it was not long after I came out publicly as an ex-Muslim. So I did the ex-Muslim North America, Awesome Without Allah thing, and then I did that's when the Sinning Skeptics sort of happened. One of my younger cousins found out and messaged my sister, and she was just like, "Oh, I was just doing this," and then that was it. There was nothing more. But my dad received a phone call from someone saying, "That's what happens when you let your daughter go to university." To this day, we don't really know who it is. It's no one it's no friend, no one I would know anyway, because it'd only be someone my dad knows his number. Because I just have my dad's number because he changed it. So it would be only a friend or
it's
family
really
member.
shitty though when your parents are told that.
I had that sort of mindset regardless of whether I've gone to university or not, but going to university gave me that freedom to almost experiment and think this through and realize, this is who I am.
I think that it's really
it makes me an independent person, pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Who's doing what I'm doing now. Like, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest.
I do think that it can be really upsetting. Like, I know that your father really supported you after you left Islam and when you started becoming outspoken, which I really, really appreciate, and I do want to get into in a little bit. But I do also think that it can be really, really upsetting for people who like want to see you flourish and want to help you, but feel like they can't because there's going to be a whole mountain of shit that's going to fall on them, and it can't. Like you also have to give it to those people. Like even though there was certain limitations that I had to undergo because of my aunt and my uncle, I will always appreciate the fact that they were always covering for me, you know?
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you also about your dad. So your dad actually quite happily supported you after you left Islam, which is very wholesome.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about that. I wanna know the tea on that.
Yeah, so he was, but I think me and my dad, we always have like, we've always had that close relationship. My mum's been my mother's daughter, I've been my father's daughter. That's just how we're. I mean, each child has like a strong inclination to it.
I'm a daddy's girl as well, so
yeah, I think it's because I'm the oldest. So they would say like the older one, the dad, and the younger one. Because my sister, when she was little, she'd always want to sleep in my mum's room, and this went on for a long while. So she was, yeah.
But
now she's a big girl, sleeps in her own room.
Thanks. But how would you say, like, to use him? Like, I don't want to make him an example, but if we were to use him as an example of how a parent should react, what examples can you give to, you know, Muslim parents who might be, you know, sensing that their child is gay or they're, you know, ex-Muslim or something like that, like they're closeted, or they just don't see eye to eye with them? Like, what did your dad do specifically that you truly appreciated as someone, you know, both of you have different views on things?
Well, he I'm trying to think back. So he was look at this. It's just a little bit of like a fever memory because it was. I find that that's one of the hardest things, trying to piece when things actually happen, because it was so
the same.
dramatic. I find it difficult to pen down time dates. That's why I say like around this many months or around this year, because it is sort of difficult to remember.
Yeah.
But he told me a story of when he and my mum first got married, and he was applying for loads of jobs, and couldn't get any in Manchester, and the only teaching he could get was in Peterborough. So he went there, and my granddad just refused to speak to him for a while because he thought he was moving away from him on purpose. But in reality, like, my dad couldn't find a job anywhere else. And it was my grandmother who kept talking to him, who kept that sort of connection. So that's why my dad was like, I understand to an extent how like that was.
Yeah.
And then he like told me some of his experiences, and he was just like, you know, you've chosen how to do this. This is what you're going to do. You've made that clear. So, and I still like, we still want to have a relationship, sort of thing. So, and in the scenario, I mean, I've had similar conversations with my friend who is Chinese, and her sisters came out as gay. There was one more angrier parent and one more calmer parent. I think that's in every dynamic. Otherwise, if you have too much anger, nothing's going to work through. So that's sort of how it shifted. One more emotional, one less so. That's how it shifted. And like, I've had conversations with my dad, like a year ago, last summer, and he said to me, like, don't get an arranged marriage, like, find someone yourself, which was a big thing. I was like, Dad,
I rate that. I really do.
I know. And now I feel like, you know, if I did meet someone, I could talk to my dad about it. I mean,
you could introduce him. They'd probably be really excited for you to marry him. Which
it would be, for me, it'd still be a long while before I was like, you can meet my father. But yeah.
I don't even want to know what that conversation would look like.
Real quick. I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask if at this point, would you like to answer some questions from the audience?
Yes. So after this, we'll take some questions. I was just thinking that. Thank you, John.
Let me know when you're ready.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, I think what I'm sensing from that story is that there's two things. That one, your dad valued you over, you know, his personal beliefs. And two is that he actually had a heartfelt discussion with you. And I can really
again, me and my dad probably more similar personalities. My mom and sister more similar personalities, so like we got on a bit more like that. Even now, like my mom, like we've had in on like which episode of the podcast it was, like we'd had discussions about it. It got a little bit heated, but we talked about it, which is a big thing. When I told her about like that message I'd received on Twitter that I told you about, like from a family member, and she just laughed it off as well. So it's still progress, really.
It's good. I really, really rate your parents for, you know, it's a long way considering how the rest of the community reacts. And I like, as much as I'd love to be surprised and be like, oh my God, that's so different. It's just refreshing to hear a nice story. You know, obviously there was your own personal struggle and all of that in there, but it is nice to hear the other side.
It happens over a quicker period than it does happen for some people. Some people it takes until like, they're married and there's grandchildren in the picture, and then the parents are like, well, okay, maybe we want to talk.
The parents are dead.
yeah.
But okay, so we've had the long, heartfelt discussion. Can we get some comments and some questions, please, John? I think we have some interesting ones.
This first one came a while back at the beginning. Nakasuchi asked if either of you could speak to how the Muslim world is handling this current pandemic situation.
So I did
Go ahead.
So I did a little bit of research into Iran because I was talking about it with the Index and Censorships Youth Board. That was our last meeting. It was on the current situation of coronavirus. There wasn't much going on in the UK in terms of suppression because there's pretty much a free flow of information. But Iran, you had people going to the holy sites, licking it, and they had to shut it down, and people still kept going out in crowds, and their cases just grew and grew and grew and grew. The problem is that country, they don't pass out that much information who has coronavirus, and then the journalists or like social media sort of activists who do talk about it, they've all been arrested or intimidated into stop talking about it. I know Pakistan, they closed their borders at some point, but a lot of these countries, and again, like I think Saudi Arabia and all these Middle Eastern sort of countries, they tend to import like stricter rules. So like you can only go to a supermarket if absolutely necessary. They have like armed guards and stuff like that. They seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously than say the UK in terms of armed guard and stuff, but the individual sort of religious preachers, I mean, people are still going to mosques. There's the Pakistani police officer who got attacked for stopping people entering the mosques. So they're not dealing with it well. They're not taking it seriously, really.
There certainly seems to be more of a priority for Muslims that we can't go to the mosque as opposed to we're going to die.
At first, their reaction to the pandemic was like, this is what Allah is doing to the Chinese for doing what they did to the Uyghur Muslims. Then when pandemic hits their countries, they reverse the narrative and shut up about it.
We're being tested.
Yeah.
This is a test from it. There's no winning. There's no winning. I am glad that
some of these tweets aren't from, people, these old mullahs and stuff like that. Some of these
coming from everyday, like Muhammad Ahmed,
living in like countries that I live in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's disappointing because I don't know if you saw it, but I did a video where I was like reacting to different like top scholars and preachers and things like that talking about the coronavirus, and there just seems to be this focus on conspiracy theories that it's like some kind of biological weapon to kill the Muslims.
Or it's like a biological weapon that the Americans have created, yet they have so many cases. So what? Like, are they just that stupid? Like,
yes, but also, I think the second thing. Sorry, I think the second thing is that there's this priority that we're not being allowed into mosques as if it's the end of the world. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the next question.
Okay, this one's from Ishtiaq Hussein, or as he said in the chat, he likes to be referred to as Ish. And Ish asks Saff, I'm happy to eat pork now, but feel a bit strange. Did you have any issues with alcohol or haram food?
Food, not so much. I mean, I only really eat chicken anyway, so like it's a chicken, man. I don't see any difference with that. And like, I remember talking to one of my Muslim friends about this, and she was like, as long as it's chicken, I don't really like, I don't feel as bad. If it's red meat, she feels worse. So yeah, I mean, I only eat chicken anyway. But
Do you have any problem? Do you have any problem with alcohol?
No. No.
No, she drinks alcohol, no problem.
No.
Yeah, like at uni at first it was like I didn't drink straight away, like during freshers or anything. It wasn't until like a good few months in, I was like, I kind of want to try it. And then one of my friends, she suggested me what to try, and then like I experimented as a uni student. Now I barely do drink, so
that's all right. Faye makes up for you.
I do.
Or when I watch Faye's videos about Derek, then I need it.
Yeah, and also I feel like I drink like a champ.
This is juice, by the way.
But I'm a vegetarian at the moment. I didn't like pork too much. It didn't sit well in my stomach very well, so I just.
It doesn't really look that appealing.
It really doesn't.
Bacon, I can understand because I used to eat bacon, but like the rest of it, no.
Sorry for any bacon fans. The next question is,
you guys, this next one here from Tartan Snowflake, you guys apparently already covered that on your own. I'm not sure what this question is all about.
Wear hoods. Yes, we do.
When it's raining.
When it's raining. Yeah. I also really enjoy hats. Ironically,
I really don't like hats. They make my head look weird.
I love hats. I had 2 pirate hats.
And the biggest issue I sort of had with the hijab or wearing it traditionally, I don't like things near my neck, so it'd feel like I was being choked. So I really didn't like wearing those ones. So I used to wear it sort of so my neck was like free and showing, and I kind of did get a bit in trouble like that because it used to slip off my head in the mosque. Yeah. But I really like, physically, it'd make me feel so uncomfortable around my neck. I don't like wearing turtlenecks up here. I don't like that feeling.
Next question.
Well, and that's what I'm just looking for here, and a lot of comments, but more cool. But I'm not at the bottom yet here. Okay, here we go. Okay, is Islam a religion of peace, even though apostates are to be put to death?
John, can you focus on Saff's face?
Yeah, like I just saw that.
What, is she complete covered?
Someone says a religion is no religion is peaceful because there's always a bit of violence in there anyway. And if you're saying like putting anyone to death, it's not peaceful. That you can't call something peaceful if there's any violence involved.
Islam isn't about peace. It's never been about peace. I don't even really know where this narrative started.
Yeah, because I was always told Islam meant peace, but Islam actually means submission. So I felt like, when I found that out, I was like, who is spreading this misinformation?
No, this is just the thing, right? Because I was, unlike you, I wasn't raised quite liberal. I was raised in the complete opposite. I was raised quite extreme. And whenever people would say Islam is peace, we were told as fundamentalists to say that no, it doesn't. It means submission because it's blatantly a lie. And I don't know even where this started from. That's what my gripe with that whole thing.
I remember. So this someone on an ex-Muslim. Where did Faye go?
No, I'm trying to. She was staying focused on your face, and I tried to pick the one where one person's blown up and the 2 people are on the side, and I couldn't get it to work.
Yeah. So a woman on like an ex-Muslim Discord was telling me that she found. Originally, it sort of started because she was a bit older. She was saying it started off when Bush, post 9/11, was saying in a speech that Muslims were peaceful and Islam was peaceful, but like the terrorists were not, something like that. And I was just like, okay, so people have taken it from there. Mm-hmm. The religion again, like you can find nice bits.
So wait. So that whole narrative is drawn from.
That's what she was saying. The first time she'd heard it from, and she was a significantly older ex-Muslim. So I was just like, I just grew up knowing people were saying that.
What?
Nah.
I'm like triggered right now. Can we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a question here, and if there's any questions that you feel I missed, please put them back
no, because
in.
I actually just asked.
Pig roast, but no.
Yeah, I see that. I'm
No.
not a vegan. I'm a vegetarian.
We like cheese in this house.
We do enjoy some cheese. But yeah, I mean, I've smelled my ex used to. He didn't know how to cook, but he did used to cook bacon from time to time, and I used to smell it. And the thing is, right, I can eat it. I enjoyed eating it, but it would never pass through my system very well. And I have enough restraint to know that this is bad for me and I can't eat it. So that's just it. It smells good, tastes good.
Steak. I'm just like, it's good, but it just
I'm not
hurts.
gonna eat it. It's gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
I am not seeing. Oh, here we go. Here's one from Ish for Saff. Did you lose any friends from leaving Islam?
Ooh, yeah. So, I had two. Like when I left high school, I only kept in contact with two of my best friends, who were both Muslim. One was more conservative. The other was more like me. And it wasn't until a year after I told my parents, I told both of them that I was atheist. Because when we meet up, we'd end up having like some sort of discussion. We'd end up like talking back from like religious perspectives. It always happened. It's like marriage or stuff like that. And then I eventually told them. My more liberal friend was like, I've been through the same phase, but I would never not call myself Muslim. I'd never call myself an atheist. I'd say she's more like a cultural Muslim. I don't know any more than that because we sort of drifted apart. We didn't end up badly. But my other friend who was more conservative, it was after I posted this Instagram, when we did the YouTube live stream with Topic Thunder and you guys, I posted it to my Instagram story. And it wasn't until a while after that, when you haven't seen someone's Instagram post for a long time, I'm like, oh, I'll go have a look. She'd removed me from all of her social media, Facebook, everything. The weird thing was her sister and her cousin, I was still friends with them and everything. So they obviously didn't know, but she basically deleted me out of her life without any sort of explanation. And I think it's because of how public I was.
That's
I would
so
have thought,
shitty though. You'd at least expect a confrontation.
We've been friends for 10 years. My treatment of them, my behavior towards them hadn't changed at all. It was just, I was like, this is who I am. This is sort of now what I'm doing. You're aware of it. But like, so the only sort of friends I have now are the friends I made at uni and at undergrad, really. So, and I have so I have like one of my friends that understood the most what I was going through. She was a Pakistani Christian, so she could understand how a Pakistani perspective would react. And then
I just wanted to interject that. I mean, I could see a kind of a charitable take on it, where with a person leaving Islam and some of their friends who are still in Islam and maybe be questioning their own faith, they may distance themselves from someone who has left Islam because of the repercussions they might suffer. From a friend and family.
More conservative. She was always going to be very, very Muslim. She really that was always, she was going to lead that traditional lifestyle. So, but the one thing, like, I would have thought if like her parents found out she wasn't allowed to be friends with me, her sister and her cousin wouldn't have still be friends with me on social media. So that made me feel a bit uncomfortable. And I just removed them because I was just like, I don't, if she chooses not to want me in her life, then I don't want that sort of access to me. That's not on sort of Twitter. Twitter is free for all. Like, everyone can have access to that. But the rest of it, if you don't really deserve it. But I've made Muslim friends since then. Like, I have co-workers, I have friends from the internet who honestly are probably
my Muslim friends are jokes. I love them so much.
They're so excited. I like the Muslim LGBT sort of community. A few, especially like Canadian and US Muslims that I've made a lot of friends with. They're so chill. They're so welcoming.
They're so relaxed, right? They're nothing like the ones we have here.
They have more like
I'm jealous
of the religion, and they're known to like stand up for me when I receive abuse. Like there was Sarah and Tara, who, when the ex-Muslim selfie thread got a bit of abuse, they were actually.
Oh my God!
Let me point out too that I've seen all of you in your your little circle there. You, Saff, Fay, Saff, Zara, Sarah, have gone after people who were going after Muslims, and you've made it very clear on more than one occasion. We're talking about we don't like the extremism and the ideologies, but in no way are we telling you to be hateful towards Muslims just because they're Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably fight homophobes more than anything on my timeline, and a lot of them do come within. They are the ones that do end up on my timeline are from the Muslim community, because I follow a lot of Muslims who then who are Muslim LGBT, and
Saff, you actually start fights. Like me, I don't.
They actually, like, my gay Muslim friends are like, Saff, please take this one on, because they're just like, I can't, and I'm like,
no, I know, but my point was that
if there's a homophobe, I'm not going to stand for it. I'm sorry, like,
you actually start fights though, but me, I don't even start. They just come to you. They just come to me. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Seemingly what Faye posts, it's going to eventually turn into a fight.
Literally, I was just telling people that I don't like that this guy killed a kid in the Quran, and it just like he was justified. Like no, he wasn't. He killed a kid. Okay, stop it.
See, you get that. I just posted a thread on like my pinned tweet, which is a thread of my threads. I get views from that, and I'm like, what? That's not even Islam. That's just me.
Exactly. I don't know.
Maynard Saved had asked a while ago, and thank you to Tartan Snowflake for going back in the chat and getting this for me. He wants to know, is the Nation of Islam a sect or its own religion?
I don't really know much about it. All I know, it was prevalent within like the civil rights movement in America, and you had like Malcolm X and all of that jazz. I don't know much more about it in terms of its actual beliefs in Islam. I don't know how
it definitely started as a political movement. One of the reasons that it started was because the Christianity was considered like a white man's religion. So, and Islam, ironically, was considered like a brown or black man's religion. So that's why it started as a, it just started as a political movement. I don't know too much about their beliefs, but they did want like a nation, like in a very Magneto-esque way. They wanted like a nation that was just for Muslims and black people, really. So yeah, I don't. It's a sect, though. It is considered a part of a sect of Islam.
So I guess this is
prawns. So, and my parents eat prawns, and my family eat prawns.
Well, so the question of shellfish, I actually have an answer for this. Ironically.
I mean, you're Bangladeshi.
I know, no. But there are certain, so within Sunni Islam, which is the majority of Muslims, there are certain schools of thought that believe shellfish are prohibited because Christians aren't technically supposed to eat shellfish because it was taken out in the Bible. But I think that most of the schools of thought, I'm not even sure which school of thought thinks that. I think it's Shafi'is, which is the most sort of strict school of thought within Sunni Islam. But aside from that specific one, there were all the other ones say that anything in the sea you can eat. You want to eat a crocodile? Go for it. You want to engulf a turtle? Go for it. It's just, everything in the sea is fair game. You don't even need to slaughter it in a specific way.
So here's one very specific one for Faye.
Did I get your message? I'll have to check after the live stream. But I don't know.
I saw one that was asking questions about dancing, and I find that quite interesting, but I can't remember what the rest of it was.
About dancing?
Here's one that wants to know, are American Muslims considered by the Muslim world as real Muslims?
No, they're not.
They're westernized.
They're westernized. They've gone on the path of bid'ah. They're changing religion. We've heard it all before. They're not real Muslims, but no, they are. They're some of the most lovely Muslims that I've come across. So I mean, if we're going to talk about who's going to bring Islam, into like the Enlightenment and like
It's
the
going to be
progressive.
American, Canadian Muslims.
It's going to be the Americans and the
Yeah.
Canadians, because the Lord knows the ones over here are just
Well,
naff. They're
one of
just
my
mental.
friends is at Canadian University was saying their ISOC, their equivalent of an ISOC, they have like LGBT inclusive spaces, and because she identifies as bi and she felt safe in that space. So I was like, well, they're doing something right there.
So my apologies. I'm going to cover your face a little bit with this one because it's well, no, but just under your chin there. And don't worry about it, Ish. We're not going to ignore your questions.
Yeah.
Has Saff changed in other ways, like more dancing, dating, thinking more critically?
Yes. Have you changed?
Look, I've been awkward anyway in terms of dancing. Like my aunties used to try to get me to dance at Mendy's and weddings.
Okay,
and
hold on. Indian aunties are mental.
They are. They love
mental.
dancing. Like my aunties, my mom, when they get together, they dance. I'm not gifted in that department. I have no rhythm, no coordination whatsoever.
I have rhythm. I am a seasoned dancer. I am Bengali by blood, and I have been thrown on the floor more times than I can count by Indian aunties. So like I cannot. They are mental, and I refuse to dance with them at a party.
So yeah, I just can't dance unless a heavy amount of
dating. Please let us in on your dating.
So like, I don't know. That was probably one of the things that took me the longest time to get over, because I was, 1, very socially awkward, 2, boys were gross, 3, growing up Muslim. So
sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. So like in the last year, I've sort of been getting out there a little bit more. There were like some horrific scenarios. I think one guy was a Tory and he made a bad joke about the British Empire.
I remember that.
You know, Pakistani, why did you say that? And then I had to fake my friend being ill.
No, you can't just like cock tease us. What was the joke?
Well, he was just like, I thought of something bad. I was like, well, just tell me. And then
demonetized.
So on to like what I was doing and stuff like that. And then I was just explaining the activism stuff because he asked about it. So I was like, okay. And then he's like, well, let's talk about blasphemy laws. And he was like, well, that wouldn't have happened under the Empire. And I'm just like,
what a Tory.
You know, I was just like, this is what I need to leave now before I like hit this man.
That wouldn't have happened under the Empire. Yeah, mate, the Empire was doing way worse than that.
Yeah, so like I was ready to choke man there. I was just like, no, this is just not okay. But yeah, recently quarantine's been going all right.
So just so everybody's aware that when Fay made that comment a moment ago, she was talking about male chickens.
What?
And she asked her to talk about her cock teasing. So here's something I wanted to comment on. It's not a question, but and the reason I want to comment on it is because Fay is always yelling at me when I say she's strong or a warrior. She says, "Oh no, stop that!" And somebody else here says Ish says he very much envies your strength.
Thank you. It was earned over many years of hard things. It's very difficult.
And at the end of the question, you did say critical thinking, because I want to answer that as well as dancing and dating. But since I left religion, I actually did read more like philosophical books and a lot more like critical thinking books. So I read a lot of like Hitchens. I read Elie Wiesby's book. I've read Yasmin Mohammed's book, and now I'm making my way through Leaving Faith Behind. So it's got like stories of like apostates from all back from the UK. So I think there's Jimmy's story in there, there's Alia Salim's, and then 2 like anonymous ones.
That's actually one of the books I haven't read. I need to.
Yeah,
I've been told off so many times. How could you not have read the ex-Muslim Bible? And I'm like, do I look like I have time?
Here we go. Here's Nakasuchi agreeing with Ish. Hey, so
I'm gonna be in my feelings now.
Hey, well, no, he said something about you two in here. He said that you were that Saff is Strong without an O. I'm not sure what that means.
That's wrong.
And Nakasuchi, could you come back into the stream here? We're going to be wrapping it up here in a little bit, and you need to cover my inadequacy again here and play the outro.
I see, John, I do not understand why you can berate yourself, but I can't do that. Like,
oh, wait a minute. I can berate myself, but you can't berate me?
No, I can't berate myself.
Oh, well, you can, but I'm going to call you out on it, and then you call me out on it too. So
All right.
What is this here now? So, okay, I just checking to see if there's any other question, because the chat in the what do you call the StreamYard is a little bit behind the actual chat on YouTube.
Oh,
but I don't see any more questions. So if you had, and let's say hello to Nakasuchi, the owner of this channel, and let me get rid of this comment. And so first to Saff, and then to Fay, as we wind things down here, if you had one piece of advice to offer to ex-Muslims who are questioning their faith, what would that be?
Go first.
Me. Reach out, I'd say, to ex-Muslims and ask them questions. I mean, we're not going to tell you what to do. I know I have friends, I'm not going to tell them what to do, but if you have questions, ask them. If there's no one you know that you can ask questions to, and then figure it out for yourself. And once you come to terms with it, join these online communities so you have some sort of outlet, and just don't approach family or anyone close to you if you don't know 100% what you're feeling and how they would react, because at the end of the day, you need to keep yourself safe.
I never really know what to say to ex-Muslims in general, because I think that there's such a huge margin for error, there's such a huge margin and threat of violence and things like that. So it's very, very difficult for me to give like a very standard sort of piece of advice. But I do want to say that if you are in a violent situation, get out of it as soon as you can, if it's possible. Because it doesn't get better and it's not worth it to stick around in that. But if you're not, and you have the time to deliberate, you don't really know how things are going to go, but you know it's not going to go violently, I would really sit down and think about what you want out of your life. I am forever grateful that I've always kind of been the kind of person that always self-corrects and tries to introspectively look into myself and correct whatever I think is deficient in myself. And I think it's really, really important for people to do that more. So I would say, ask yourself the questions that you are afraid of answering, and ask yourself why you're afraid of them. Life is meant to be lived. You're living in a shell your whole life. You're not truly living. Just live your true self. I know this looks a little outlandish and a little crazy, and even my girl has purple hair, but it's fun, and ultimately that's all we have. You don't have proof there's a God. You don't have proof there's an afterlife. This is all we have, the time we have now. So make the most out of it, be that by way of bettering yourself or by way of just doing what you love.
Excellent. And just some closing business here. And Nakasuchi, I don't know, did you hit the screen share yet?
I have it set up. I do want to say a word before you close out.
Absolutely. I just have a few items to share here, but go ahead.
Well, mainly it was I had most of my mods here earlier, and it was surprisingly a troll-free mod when it comes to the Muslim side. So, or a troll-free stream somewhat when it comes to the Muslim side. And I want to get on the same page with my moderators that these streams are going to be very important. I want Muslims to come and challenge, but I don't want Muslims to come and troll my guest here. So I'm going to make sure that my moderators are staying through this whole stream.
I actually want to counter that. I think that it's so for the streams that I run on my own channel, I tell the moderators to let the hate comments come through, because I also think it's really important that people see just how bad it is sometimes.
All right, so yeah, if that's what you want, then I'll get my moderators on that page as well.
Let's ask Saff.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Well, and before we went live,
again, I feel like part of it's again we can challenge them, but so people can just see the amount of hate we do get. Because I feel like people just don't take it seriously enough. People are like, oh, it's fine. You
all right, I'm perfectly great with that. So I'll let my moderators know because I set rules for them. So I'll let them know to let that shit go because we do kind of and we do need to expose that hate that you guys get. So
I mean, unless it's something that's going to get the channel strike or something like that.
Like graphic, I guess.
Hey, shout out to Aaliyah Kai. How are you today? And just want to say too to Knock that before we went live, Fay and Saff both were telling me, because I told them about all the ex-Muslims and what have you that I tagged in my tweet about 45 minutes before the show, and they said, well, hey, next time we do this, tag a bunch of Muslims too.
Tag the crazy ones.
Yes,
all right, so yeah,
you will get so much relevance in your stream. Just abuse it. Take them all out. They are so pressed that I made one video about them that they can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, so that's what I want to know. And that's what I want to know because I plan on personally going pretty hard at Islam here coming in the coming months, and so when we have what we call sensitive streams, we have high moderation streams.
Yeah.
So then I will have a meeting with my moderators and let them know during this.
Yeah.
To let it go unless it's like really, really, really super fucking bad.
Yeah. I also want to say, so myself and Saff are kind of working on my channel together.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing the bulk of the recording and things like that, but we do have like a little setup with a few ex-Muslims. So we're trying to, my aim is to try and be a mainstream kind of influencer or whatever you want to call it, like an online personality. So we're trying to get as much exposure as we can. So I would really, really appreciate it if people hopped over to my channel and subscribed. But do be aware that a lot of our content isn't around religion. It's just fun stuff. It's just YouTube
fun,
stuff.
And then sometimes we talk religion because sometimes
it's important.
And all the
those are good. Like I don't always talk atheism either. Like I dive into politics and people don't watch this shit. But it's like you got to do what you want to do. But at the same time, we need to support our fellow creators and of all stripes. And I'm just glad that you guys came here and did this. But I will shut up and then I'll play the outro when it's my time.
Yeah, go ahead and hit screen share now so I can see it on my screen to click on it. We will get all of Fay and Saff's information in the video description as well. Please go to their channels and give them some love. Please like, share, and sub to this channel and share this video on social media. Now, Saff, you have your own channel, and then plus you're part of the Sinning Skeptics channel. Yeah, okay.
Skeptics is currently just me and my editor Takashi at the moment, just because we had some issues with the safety of other members, my two other co-hosts. So we had to let them go, and now Faye's going to just join me and help me out when I need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did an interview
with Alia Salim, right?
Alia Salim, who founded Fay to Faithless, so that's our latest one. Then this month I want to have Faye and the South African ex-Muslim, and we want to announce something to the world, so that'll be soon. And it's going to be so fun because
people already know what it is. You can reveal it.
I watched a video with you two the other day on Fay's channel. I can't remember the topic, but I watched it where Fay, you just called Saff up on the phone and you guys were ranting.
Yeah, I was talking about a lady who eats live animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ton of videos on YouTube that people going after this woman that is basically torturing animals. Yeah. And I couldn't believe when you said that she has 3 million subs or something like that.
Yeah. I actually, in my stream today, I had a woman who was calling me racist because I made that video, which I think is ridiculous. But Go and watch that video. Go and report that woman. I don't know
What
she's
is
not
her
in
name
prison.
again?
So Young, with 2 S's. So SSOYOUNG.
And just to give you a little taste, like the one thing I saw it either in Fay's video. I don't think she shared any of the videos, but
I did.
Yeah, you did. I either saw it in Fay's video or one of the other ones I watched. Like one of the things that there's a video out there of is where they cut the tops off of octopus's heads and then just poured like a bucket of salt on them. And if you ever, think about getting salt into a wound, anytime that's happened to you, it's just horrendous. Like,
it's horrific.
It is very horrific. So look, be looking for the Apostate Alliance Facebook page. I will advertise that on Twitter and elsewhere once I get that set up. I promise to have that set up before our next episode.
Yeah, I'll help you with that, John. I don't go to my Facebook page much, but I know how to do it.
Right. And speaking of the next episode, we're going to be joined by another one of Fay's friends 2 weeks from today, ex-cult baby. And she is an ex-Jehovah Witness. So that'll be interesting. And, like I said at the beginning, that's our mission is to reach out to ex-Muslims, have them come on and tell their story. But we will, along the way, at different times, be talking to apostates of all religions. Please, everybody that's listening or anybody that watches this video in the future, reach out if you want to be a guest. Again, you don't have to be on camera. We can point you to an app that will modulate your voice so nobody will know who you are. And reach out also with news items that you think are important for people to hear about that we'll do at the top of every show. And I'll make sure that my email is in the video description, and Fay's as well if she would like it to be there.
Yes.
What else do we have to share?
Can I make a request to the channel? Can you put? I'll send you the hashtags. Can you put the hashtags in the description?
Yeah,
definitely, no problem.
Okay.
And
I can even put the hashtags in the what's that section called that you can put tags that'll.
There's a tag section, and then we'll put it in the description. But also, after this, Fay, we're gonna have to talk.
Okay. Am I in trouble?
No, you're not in trouble at all.
Okay.
So again, this is the Apostate Alliance. At present, we're going to do a show every other week. And when me and Fay originally talked about it, she said she has a lot going and she would only be available maybe once a month. But I'm kind of getting the impression that if it's only every other week, she'll be able to join us.
Oh, John, I've only got time now. Get me on this one.
Yeah.
Everybody's got time now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and also in the future, you will actually see me conduct an interview, but while we're starting out with Fay's friends here,
you can abuse Fay. You can abuse Fay.
Well, fucking Horseface, you got to come in some open rooms of mine. My audience misses you, so Horseface, you're needed.
People have really missed you on Twitter.
Well, and the thing is too is like I did the first episode. I would have been on camera with these brave folks here, but I suffer from psoriasis, and at present my face is all broke out with psoriasis. So I went on camera.
Some skincare products. She works in skincare.
Yeah.
I mean, my face is my own, so I'm like pretty sometimes, and then sometimes I have to be off camera. So
Yeah, I made myself look pretty today. I was like, oh.
We collaborated. We were like, oh, we should do it. Yeah.
We should do a match.
Yeah. But
okay, so boy, there was.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Saff, you were awesome, and Fay, you're awesome. There was a lot of positive comments about the two of you throughout.
This was a really good conversation. I'm not gonna lie. I apologize for Matt Powell coming in. He needs attention, but such a great conversation, y'all, and I'm proud to have this on my channel. I just want to put that out there. Saff, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Oh,
well, and I talked to Knock about moving this over to his channel because he has a bit of a bigger channel than the one that I just started the end of last year, and just looking to get more exposure for this podcast and for ex-Muslims that are in our community. Certainly apostates of Christianity have some horrible things done to them at times, but it's nothing of the magnitude that happens to a lot of ex-Muslims. And
Well,
today we had.
The great thing about this, John, is that what Fay, what Saff has gone through, what a lot of these ex-Muslims have gone through, is the future that we would have if the fundamentalists take over this country. This is our struggle right now. And this is important, and people need to fucking realize it. And I am just so proud to have you guys come on and show this audience what extremism really is, because so often as Americans we think we know what extremism is, but we fucking don't.
Yeah,
you guys have lived it.
I think that there is a certain desensitization to the violence that exists in other parts of the world. I mean, even in the UK, the kind of violence that I went through, people are shocked.
Yeah.
At the, I mean, I would even argue Saff was shocked when she first said it.
Yeah.
People are really, really desensitized. And I had actually said to one of my best friends, it has not aged well as a joke, but I had said to one of my best friends that we need a catastrophe at some point because people don't know what suffering is anymore. And as horrible a sentiment that is, I do think that catastrophes really do open people's eyes to the kind of suffering that people deal with all the time.
And I think, especially, you've got quarantine now and people are finding it difficult. That and the fact it's the reality for a lot of Muslim women, is their lives are. You see, I see even this is non-hijabi wearing Muslims joke about quarantine is no different for me because I'm barely even allowed out of the house, and people are making that joke. In reality, that is people's lived realities before that, and we need to talk about that more.
Well, and I'd like to appeal to ex-Muslims out there, because as Saff shared today, she didn't have as tough a time transitioning as a lot of other ex-Muslims do, and that she realized the trouble that a lot of ex-Muslims have, and so she's an activist because of it. So I appeal to ex-Muslims with similar stories to Saff, who really didn't have a hard time transitioning and didn't suffer any, a lot of repercussions or any repercussions to join their movement, and get the word out about the persecution of people who leave the faith, and LGBTQ community that suffer heinous acts in some Muslim countries. So I commend Saff for having joined that movement when she didn't really have all that tough of a time leaving Islam. So please, any of you other folks out there that didn't have a tough time,
it is truly commendable that Saff became one of us.
Absolutely.
And welcome to this community, and you should be a part of it. And anything I can do to help, I will help. Because but your messages are as important as anybody's, if not more important, because I mean it's going on today.
Again, we get blamed for saying you had a bad experience with Islam, that's why you left. Well, realistically, I didn't have a bad experience with Islam. I just had a difference in opinion, yet still I received backlash from it. I shouldn't. So it's anybody can really want to leave it, regardless of what experience you grew up with.
Agreed.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, everybody in the audience, for joining us for episode 2 of the Apostate Alliance. Be back here 2 weeks from today when we'll be joined by ex-cult baby, a former Jehovah's Witness, here on A Raging Atheist, soon to be labeled The Rage. We always say, be the conversation. And what we say on the Apostate Alliance is, you can be free to not believe. And take it away, Nakasuchi.